Hello, here we are again together with Mookie Tenembaum, the creator of Disillusionist philosophy, and we are exploring his line of thought, and we are trying to understand what's going on now in the world with the COVID-19 pandemic from his philosophical point of view. In a previous video, you said most of our suffering was actually fear of suffering and not immediate suffering itself. I would like you to expand on this particular issue.
There is so many sayings that they say about fear. The famous one by Churchill: you should only fear itself. Yes, something. I'm not exactly quoting, but he meant that that's the worst thing about fear is fear itself. Anyway, fear is by far the main suffering of human beings in general, and in the modern human being especially. Why? Until 100 years ago, pains, physical pains that 150 years ago could not be addressed in a way that they calm the pain. So pain and suffering were quite a lot, I would say, they were synonyms. In fact, they are used, legally speaking, that somebody pays you in a compensation for pain and suffering. Now that means that they are not the same, if they're pain and suffering, yes? But I don't want to go into that difference. I'm just saying pain is the main cause of suffering, especially in our times, because now physically we have solved the pain problem. So what do we suffer? Well, we suffer basically from one, which is fear, which is primordial, and one which is much modern, which is guilt. One I'm not going to speak about in this video. I'm just going to speak about fear. Fear has to do with the future. Yes, you can only dread the future. You cannot dread the past, and you cannot dread the present unless it's in a different place. But it's still far away from you, and that means it will happen in the future if you ever going to feel the effect. So fear is also on something that is not for sure. Okay, let me give an example that could help to define fear, and that's a tsunami. Okay, they advise you that there was an earthquake, and in the next 20 minutes there could be a tsunami. There will be a tsunami. They already have the buoys that. So there is no fear about the tsunami. It's for sure you will get a tsunami. I was, in fact, on a personal note, I was in Phuket. I left the night before the big the big tsunami that, in fact, everybody in my hotel was killed, and of course people say you were saved from the tsunami. I was that's not true. I was saved from many other things, like the construction of the pyramids and the Middle Ages. I wasn't there, but fear is that fear. So fear, but don't make a mistake. Fear happens now. Every suffering happens now. There is no suffering in the future. You may predict there will be a suffering, but suffering is suffering now. So fear is now about the future.
How does fear intervene in the current situation we are living through with the lockdowns and the raging pandemic of coronavirus?
Fear is the great equalizer. It is only second to death. Yes, almost everybody has fears, but the interesting now is that we now all fear the same things. And this is unusual, very unusual. Somebody who lives in a little village in India, where once in a while comes a tiger and eats somebody, or an elephant that destroys 50 houses, yes, he has certain fears, very clear fears. He does not fear the fall of Wall Street. He does not care if the gold is 1,700 or it is 300. His fear is concentrated on tigers and elephants. And of course, starving and heat and monsoons and all the rest. But basically, it's a very specific thing. But when you're living in a town like Buenos Aires, elephants are not around trying to destroy you, yes? And tigers are very far between. But there are people who can come and stick you up with a gun, yes? Or there could be flooding in the street, but really not very serious. But what are we now, all of us? Why are we all in the midst of this? We all fear the same thing. We fear the virus, fear getting sick, but much more than this. We fear not only for ourselves, we fear now for the others. And we fear for the others not because the others, something can happen to them like in a tsunami. It's what you do will affect that person. It is the future of guilt. It is fear of guilt. Okay? You walk in the street, you spoke to the old man you speak every day the other day that nobody keeps, nobody even say hello to him, and you say hello to him every day, and now you say hello to him, and you are the only person who say hello to him. He gets sick and he dies. Yes, this is your fear. But you are even taught to be fearful of anybody, because anybody can be contagious. Not only that, you are now fearful of your own hand. Your own hand is a threat. I think we are living in a fantastic experiment, fantastic, unique experiment, in which we are both the laborants in the lab, those who work in the lab, and the rats, both, on both sides.
And how will it end? How do you see fear determining our lives after the pandemic? Will we go back to our old fears?
Oh, that's very interesting. Some will. First of all, some fears don't die. They are in the freezer. Remember, we spoke about last time, in one of the videos, we spoke about priorities. So people who are fearful of human contact, and now they stay at home, the fear is not there. I mean, they're not going to see anybody anyway. Mm-hmm. But this will go back to it. So some fears are in the freezer. Some are gone. Some, your fear of climate change, you don't care because you don't have a job. And everybody who is above 60 cannot leave their houses. And the economy has gone bonkers, besides all the helps and money being thrown, so Wall Street goes up and all the stock exchanges go up in euphoria. We all know that what we're going to is a huge, terrible crisis, and we're not coming back from that crisis very easily. So people are more and more fearful, will be more and more fearful for their livelihood, not for some whale that is stranded in a beach in New Zealand, or the penguins who are dying from some kind of bacteria in the plankton that results from the oil spill in the Arctic by the Russians. Really, all this is going to leave. It's going to go. It's because of priorities, and because we are going to go back to fear from something that is tangible, something that is happening. And I'm afraid that some of those fears will turn into terror. That means the horror, the moment in which there is certainty that something will happen and there's nothing you can do about it. Yes, death is one of the examples. But the tsunami, you have 6 minutes to run away from a tsunami. Maybe you can't. So we're talking about it's going to be very, very interesting. Less laboratory, less lab, and more field. But it will be very interesting, yes.
Amazing. Thank you very much. We'll carry on.
My pleasure.
If you enjoyed the video, please like it, comment and subscribe.